Now let's move on to American politics, and that's actually a topic that our panellist, James Morrow, just been listening to him. He watches this like a hawk. Yes, James is the political editor of the Daily Telegraph, but you might not know that he also hosts a YouTube channel for Sky News called Busting the Narrative. Please subscribe. The content is sharp and it is refreshing. And on top of all of that, James has a new show starting at 8:30 p.m. from next Friday. It's called The US Report. And that means after you watch us on the media show, you can stick around and James will brief you on all of the absurdities taking place in America. And of course, we're lucky enough to have him here right now to discuss this story he's flagged with me. Do you remember how the US media reacted when then President Donald Trump was slightly slow walking down a ramp? They bagged Trump for his supposed health problems nonstop. It was big news. But what happens when it's Joe Biden? Objectively, Biden's stumble was much worse, but the story didn't get as much airtime as the Trump clip. Now, James, let's bring you back in because I want to know what on earth is going on in the American media where they can ignore these gaffes for someone like the President of the United States falling off a bike. It just doesn't seem to be that important for some journalists.
Well, for, much of the American press, guys, they're doing a bigger job protecting the U.S. president than the Secret Service. Their whole role now seems to be just to try, they worked really hard to get him over the line in November 2020. They did that. They got him over the line despite that whole campaign he ran out of the basement. And now, he's falling off a bike that isn't even moving. Like somebody just took the training wheels off. And suddenly it's like, oh, no big deal here. And it's great to look at how they dealt with Donald Trump because he walked down that ramp haltingly and he said, that it was slippery, whatever. But this turned into, oh, does Donald Trump have Parkinson's? Psychology Today said, oh, we should get his brain scanned. Chris Chaliza at CNN was absolutely brutal about all of this. And then you fast forward today, Biden, every time he goes in front of the cameras, and I understand that if you live your life in front of the cameras, you're going to make a mistake from time to time, even me. But, that said, they just run a protection racket. And Chris Chaliza this time was, people were tweeting at him, hey, what do you think? What do you think about, this? And he just said, oh, that's happened to me before. Been there. Like it's no big deal to just sort of be standing there with your bike and just topple over. When, of course, we know that if it was Donald Trump, they'd be all over it. Remember, Joe Biden actually fell up the stairs to Air Force One about a year ago, and everyone's like, oh, well, that's perfectly fine. We all fall up the stairs, every day of the week. But you go back to 1996, Bob Dole was running for president against Bill Clinton. He fell off a stage. That was repeated over and over and over again to say he wasn't young and youthful enough like Bill Clinton. So it's really clear what's happening, but you have to go back and look at it to see it all in its full biased glory, and that's what we're seeing here with the way the U.S. media is running this protection racket for Joe Biden.
Well said, James. It is going to be a great show. I'm very happy to precede it. So well done with all of that, securing that. James Morrow, Sophie Ellsworth, thank you so much for joining me.